And it was pretty much me. The thing is, a lot of the candidates that I did support did not win, which is one of the problems. So apparently, what we have here is a truck from Steve Sisolak. So Steve Sisolak is doing in so many ways to get his word out there, to bring the candidates' guys' attention into the minds of so many people here in Clark County, that he is literally trying to do everything he can to literally keep them in their heads and execute their voting decisions for Steve Sisolak. And so this is one of the points I just wanted to deliver. So look at this voting truck, and let me just get out. Let me show you where we are right now. And as you can see here, so apparently they did this in a dispensary. And as you can see here, this is Flamingo Road. This is the Palms. They got a really nice buffet, good deal. So they do this in a very central location. Oh, and what do you know? It's very, very close to the Strip. And as you can see here, the Bellagio, the city center, all these properties right here. And why do I think this is important? Well, maybe perhaps it's close to the major donors. And I heard a lot of cases that Jim Murren of MGM Resorts heavily donated to his campaign, although I'm not 100% sure about that. Of course, it doesn't surprise me if the Jim Murren and Sisolak, his friends, and they put this in the center of the Strip. Think about that. Why did they do that? They did that simply because of the fact that you have a lot of workers out here, a lot of employees who are foreign-born, who belong to a labor union, many of whom which endorsed Sisolak. I believe almost all of them did. And one of the things is that he puts it in that location to get a lot of attention, to get a lot of outcry about his campaign, so that a lot of these workers who are foreign-born immigrant voters, which Sisolak is catering to those people, fighting against the proposals of Donald Trump, so he can become elected as governor, and he can bring in protections for DACA, TPS, and who knows, maybe he can expand government programs to them, particularly who are non-legals, just like what they did with driver's licenses, believe it or not. So this is what he's trying to do. It's a very central location. Now just look at how he's doing this. A large truck, getting the outcry as much as he can. And, you know, you got to understand, tens of thousands of people pass through this. Why hasn't Chris G put a lot of posters and billboards like this? Just look at this. Just look at the tactics. Look at his smile just by looking at him. Goodness, you could just tell. You could just see what kind of governor and what kind of commissioner he really was and what he could be. So think about that. Think about what a governorship of Sisolak might be. Now, of course, I don't look at everything glass half empty. He has done some bright things. But I have a feeling he's going to take away our Second Amendment rights. I have a feeling that he's going to raise our taxes. He has not talked about reducing the commerce tax, believe it or not. So this is one of the things that you have to keep in mind. Now, I also want to get to the results of other candidates. And I want to talk about a handful of other people. Now, a lot of people that I supported, LaFada, did not win. If you look at, and I was shocked to see Mike Roberson won because he voted to raise the taxes, believe it or not. But some people who I supported, Bob Beers. I'm not 100% sure about Bob Beers, but I've heard a lot of great things about him. He did win. And my assembly candidate, Dennis Huff, actually won, believe it or not. Congratulations. And I just spoke to him on the phone. I not only congratulate him, I told him that he can be the roadblock. He can be the true resistance, considering that Oscarson is now gone, who raised taxes, and he can actually fight against the Sisolak policies if he wins the election. So this is some bright, bright news. Now, of course, with all due respect, Barbara Sagaski won. Now, I'm very suspicious about this guy, Nelson Arujo, who's running against her, because it's likely that he wants to run so that he can possibly, I'm not sure, perpetuate in more schemes that a lot of people claim that there was voter fraud. People were bussed out of the Rio Hotel and to vote in the Bonanza Drive supermarkets. So this is one of the things you have to keep in mind. Amy Jones, from what I heard, basically won. Cindy Lake did win. So let's hope that they can get in and shake some things up. Now, of course, there was a lot of disappointments, okay? One of the disappointments was that the number of primary voters for Republicans, and again, I'm not trying to side with one party, okay? But if Republicans would want to win, you got to understand the number of primary votes by Republicans was less than it was for Democrats. In other words, Adam Laxalt got fewer votes than, obviously, Sisolak. Heller got fewer votes than Rosen. And basically the list goes on. Crescent Hardy got fewer votes than Horsford. So what is this going to mean? And the performance is not as good relative to 2014, 12, 2006. Now, I spoke to Victoria Seaman about this, and she's actually telling me, believe it or not, that, of course, these data can be kind of misleading. You really got to bring in the nonpartisan voters, and they will really make the decision. And she says we've gained more registered Republicans we did this year than we did years before, believe it or not. So tell me what you guys think, because I'm not too pleased about what has happened so far. I can tell you about this, believe it or not. So obviously Aaron Ford is going to run for Attorney General. I'm very suspicious about this. He supports DACA, which the DACA deal is a big sellout to his community, in my opinion. And then, of course, you have to look at the races. Of course, you have to stop, obviously, Jacky Rosen, completely based on identities. Susie Lee, oh my gosh. I spoke to her. She didn't even tell me exactly how she's going to make equal pay for equal work, men versus women. I mean, we already have affirmative action programs for women. Is Sisolak going to do that? Believe it or not? What about Sisolak, believe it or not, about so many percentage of our casino workers are foreign-born? And don't tell me that American-born citizens won't do those jobs, given our labor force participation rate. People have to start speaking out against this. I told this to Seaman and Dennis Hoff just recently right now. So this is one of the things that you really have to keep in mind and figure out, believe it or not. So then again, I was not too pleased who won for Congress in my district. It was Crescent Hardy. I was hoping it would either be basically some guy named David Gibbs and Jeff Miller, but then again, it's usually the more popular candidates that win. So, and then again, Horsford, man, I was shocked that he won over Amy Vilela and Dina Titus over Ruben de Silva. The good news is it shows you there's a lot of division with the Democratic Party, believe it or not. So it's likely that we won't turn into California anytime soon. But then again, Amy Vilela and Ruben de Silva, with all due respect, had some really good points. And that's the problem with identity BS, is that a lot of the good ideas run off. And meanwhile, you got to understand, this guy Sisolak, he's catering to the identities, but he hasn't done much to cater to them. He hasn't turned our county into a true sanctuary county, fighting against the Trump administration as much as San Francisco and Los Angeles and New York. So now he's just using talking points or something like that, it seems like, to just simply to get reelected. So this is one of the things. But then again, I have to say, I told them, anybody who becomes governor, and I was hoping that Dan Schwartz would win over Adam Laxalt, but anybody who becomes governor, believe it or not, I tell them, I'm going to win, and I'm going to get my dreams and accomplishment done, okay? And I think a lot of Chris G supporters are really frustrated. I don't know about that Hillary Clinton voter call. I have to look into it, but other than that, take care of yourself, have fun, and keep spreading the word. Let's fight for our city and our county and our state. and of course, our country. Take care. God bless.